recording. Good evening, everybody. This is Arizona Ashy. We're doing another class. This one's on report writing to meet the standards of practice by the state of Arizona. The date today is 8/24/2021. On the screen are the report checklist supplement used by the Technical Board of Registration. This report form is what you should do to fill in and make sure that your report form meets these requirements. If it doesn't and a complaint's filed against you, you are going to pay the price. The way it happens is, I don't like the way you're walking around my house, and I file a complaint. Then they go through your report line by line using this form to make sure that you've filled out your report exactly as this form states. So if it isn't, then your report's non-compliant. It used to be if you had one item off, your report wasn't compliant. Now they're saying you can have one or two because there's 84 required items on this report that you must fill in. So let's start at the top. The purpose and scope. This is one of the things of why we do these inspections. Your contract, 1 through 5 is what your contract should say. So you have a contract, you send it to the person, it's part of ISN, or you give it to them, you send it to them. This better be on there. So the inspection purpose, the scope, limitations, exclusions, and the fee. What am I charging them and what am I not doing? That's got to be on your contract. What am I not doing? That's pretty important. Okay, the purpose of the inspection is to give the client a better understanding of the property on the condition on the day of the inspection. Now, I want everyone to, the day of the inspection, this is what protects you all. The day is the date on your contract or the date of the inspection that you did it. Okay, some of your contract date's different, so you need to make sure. So on the day of the inspection, something's different the next day. It's too bad. The day I was there, this is what it is. Okay, so the day you were there, it wasn't raining and the roof didn't leak. So Harris, what do you say?
I say it was for the day of the inspection. This was what was there.
The
situation.
Condition. Yeah. So it wasn't leaking this day. So there's usually a standard statement that it hasn't rained for 3 days prior to this inspection, or it hasn't rained in the last 3 days. I don't know why that became an issue, but that's what a lot of these forms say. Okay, I need the date. Include the date the inspection was performed in the agreement. What's that mean? In your contract, your agreement. The inspector, you have to have a name. I don't know how many of these things I see. I have no clue who did it. The license number of the person performing the inspection must exist in the agreement. So if you have employees, they're not employees, I'm sorry, subcontractors, it has to be in there, okay? Firm address. The firm address is either your house or whatever address you're using. How this got in here is because we're under the licensing for engineers, and engineers have to have a firm address. So we ended up having to have one also. That can be your home address if you want, or a P.O. box, whatever you want. Number 5, this has to be in your form somewhere. So the Arizona Standards of Professional Practice, that's the wording. And then you have to say that this report, this inspection here, right over here to the right, is being conducted in accordance with the Arizona Standards of Professional Practice. There it is. That's the wording. And when I say that's the wording, it exactly has to be that wording, everyone. That has to be in your agreement. So they sign it, they agree to it, and off you go. Okay, so let me show you what we got here. This is my report form in my header for roofing. I think this is for roofing. Yes, it is. According to the Arizona standards, or the ASHI standards and the Arizona Standards of Professional Practice for home inspectors, the home inspector shall observe the roofing. And I have put the exact items that are in the SOPs. We also hand them the SOPs in a paperwork, but we're finding out many of our buyers aren't showing up right now. So, and then I have the home inspector is not required to walk on the roof. We're not required to walk on the roof. Did you realize that? I love it. It's a great thing. We're not required to do it. Well, why don't you go on the roof? Well, I'm not required to. Well, how do you inspect it? Well, I'm not inspecting the roof today. Well, the buyer says to you, I agree with you. You shouldn't inspect it. So you put in your agreement, or you write it in your report, the buyer agreed that I shall not inspect the roof today. And you put it on your report. Okay.
Rick, do you not inspect roofs?
I don't inspect tile roofs. I don't walk on tile roofs at all, ever.
So there's no way you don't set a ladder up against the house or something?
Nope. Well, we just don't do it because then you have to write up and say, I didn't check all areas of the tile roof. I've only been doing this now for about 25 years, not walking on tile roofs. So they know I'm not walking on them. We don't charge less. We don't walk on tile roofs. And then they say, well, it's a 2-story roof. We still don't walk on them. A single, we don't walk on them. But there's some place you can usually get up on a porch roof but we don't put our ladder up on 4 sides and look and then say we can't see it anyway. We say you need a roof inspection, a qualified roof inspection by an inspector that will walk the tile roof. That's what we say. Okay. So, this has to be in here. And then it says here, the roof of the home was inspected and reported with the above information. Okay. That's what's in my, agreement. So let's go ahead and take a look here and see what our statements are. Okay. The inspector walked the roof. That's a BTR requirement. So take a look here. It says BTR. So wherever it says BTR, those are items that must be on your report. So I've gone ahead and put those in there. The built-up painted roof is in satisfactory condition considering the age to the extent it's visible. You don't have to say all that. You can just say satisfactory. That's what the Technical Board of Registration says, and you can just move on. If you like to get hired a lot, then you'll put more writing in your report. So we have built up painted there, built up painted marginal. The roof is marginal conditions. A licensed roofing contractor needs to inspect. Why do we say that? Because we have to tell them what the condition is and then what should they do about it. Not how to do it, what should they do? The roof is in poor condition, needs to be replaced. We say that, many of you say, get another idea from someone else and see what they think about it. The roof is leaking through the ceiling onto the living room floor. I think it needs to be replaced. And you've been up there. Don't be scared to say it, but it's up to you. Raised conduit. Conduit on the roof needs to be raised and properly supported. We're trying to get to the point where we don't have to do any other writing other than just click on these simple little items. So this isn't a report. Go ahead.
Are these in your report, Brick?
Yes.
But you
Not
don't
all.
inspect the roof.
Say it again.
But you don't inspect the roof.
I don't go on tile roofs. Just tile. We
Isn't
go on
that the
all other
majority
roofs.
of your roofs?
There's a slight delay, so I'm going to stop talking while you say it again. Go ahead.
Isn't that the majority of your roofs, tile roofs?
If it was, I'd probably be out of business. No, it is not. So the newer houses from 2000 and above, they're tile. They're truss type roofs. Typically, they're 2 stories because they fit on small lots. But no. I'd probably say maybe 20% are tile. If they were all tile, boy, I'd be happy as a clam. I have to carry a ladder with me, so I'm finding it distasteful to carry that ladder now and climb up on the roof when it's hot. But no, we got lots of roofs here, and we will drag the ladder from one level to another if we have to. But we always say it's a 2-story house. You need a roofer to take a look. Just to make it simpler, I hear sounds outside. The wind must have picked up. Okay, so you can take a look there on the screen. If you want to take a screenshot, go ahead. It's on the right-hand side of your screen. And then you can look at these later if you have any questions. We'll go over another class and things you should put in your report. But right now, okay. So again, I use home gauge. So on the screen now, we have roof structure, flashings, penetrations, drainage, sewer vents, chimneys, and skylights. Why do I have those on my report as specific items? Those are on there because
You have to inspect them.
yeah, we inspect those. I'm getting a call from someone from Maine. He's calling. It's 10 o'clock in Maine. Okay. These are items. So let's go ahead and close this down a minute, and we'll see when we get to the roof section what it says. Okay. So does everyone have any questions about 2.0? What has to be in your contract? Take a picture with your screenshot so you know what it is. Okay. 4.0 is structural components. I sort of got out of track here, so we can go down to roofing. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do the structural. Okay. So the note is also subcomponents, foundation, footings, walls, ceilings, roof framing of the structural aspects of the homes can be noted as not visible. It used to be I couldn't say that. Now they're saying, sure, we'll let you say that. The condition of the overall components, foundations, floors, must be observed and reported. So if I walk in and can see drywall, you need to say, I can see drywall.
Rick,
Yes,
can we find these in the standards of practice?
these are from the standards of practice.
So we don't really have to take this if we have a copy of that.
Yes, all this is for is, so the standards of practice, number 6, foundation is in the standards. Number 7, floor, it's in there. All this does is it pulls out the sections that aren't in the standards where it says they're telling you what you actually have to report on. The standards don't tell you that. So yes, you don't have to copy all these. So in the standards, it'll say you must observe and report on the foundation type. You must report on the foundation condition. That's what the standards say. Okay. The other wording behind these words sort of gives you more information about what you're supposed to say about the condition. So in this case, under foundation, the visible portions of the foundation are satisfactory where visible. In other words, is the foundation visible? I see reports that say the foundation is in great condition and should be satisfactory for many years. Instead of saying the visible portions of the foundation show no signs of failure or there are no cracks or whatever wording you want to say. It is not acceptable to describe the condition of the foundation simply as not visible. Okay, does everybody understand? Every foundation has something visible called the stem wall. If I have a slab that's called a post-tension slab, is any of it visible, Harris?
Only the sides.
Okay, and is it 11 inches thick roughly?
It could be, but we can't see it.
Yeah, let's pretend most post-tension slabs are 11 to 15 inches thick, because if you go out to the building sites, they're using a 12-inch form to 24-inch form, pouring a raft slab with cables in it, with a toe down in the middle. Okay, any questions about foundation? Okay, floor structure. Floor structure and foundation with monolithic pours are almost identically the same, but floor structure, sort of important. Observe and report on the type, framed, concrete, or could not be determined. That's okay. Sometimes you can't tell, but I want to ask you, you're telling me on a slab on grade house, you can't say that it's concrete? What do you think it's made out of? So on what I'm telling you, if a complaint's filed against you, you're going to be in trouble. Okay, framed, the type of framing, we don't know what it might be on a second story house. It could be TJIs, it could be, I doubt it's concrete in residential. And the condition, the extent is visible at each level of the structure. Ah, wait a minute, each level. So if I have a 2-story house, I'm required to report on the first level and the second level of that structure. Does everyone understand? If it's a 2-story house, the first level is concrete, slab on grade, or post tension, and the second level is wood or trusses or whatever you think it is. It's telling you right there, visible at each level of the structure. Number 7, visible at each level. Satisfactory? That's all you have to say.
If I have that, if I have that in my styles and materials, does that meet
Yes.
requirements or no?
Yes. No, that's exactly where you'd put it. Styles and materials is not the condition, everybody. Styles and materials is the type.
Okay.
The condition, in other words, defects, should be in the other section of your report so you can put it in your summary. You don't want all the style stuff up. You just want it up there out of the way. But if there's an issue, you want it to go to the summary. So yes, so that's exactly it. Perfect.
So you report what you find at the second floor, even though you can't see it?
Well, is it concrete or wood?
How do you know?
Well, we know it's not concrete in residential. I don't think I've seen a concrete floor on a.
Well, I'm sure that, but you can't see the trusses.
Well, you just told me it's possibly trusses. But what I say is the type of construction isn't visible, but it's most likely wood. It could be metal, but they're telling you have to report on that. So I usually jump up and down on the floor and say, see, it sounds hollow to me. And then I write down it's wood framing. It could be metal, but I doubt it. I don't see much metal anymore. But when it was metal, it was a problem for me because I saw a lot of ghosting on the ceilings and drywall, so I had to write down ghosting stains. It's not a big deal, but when the complaint, here's how it works, guys. You can write a report all day long and be the best report, and it's fine. The day a complaint comes in, that's when you're toast. And I'm telling you, it just becomes you're like defending yourself against the best report ever written. Okay, any other questions about floor structure? Okay, wall structure, observe and report on the type. Framed masonry, that's all you got to say. It's not like here, framed. You don't have to say it's trusses. You just say framed. Isn't a truss framing? Sure it is. They're telling you. Concrete or could not be determined. You're allowed to say the second floor structure couldn't be determined, the type. Okay? Wall structure, observe and report on the type. Framed masonry or not determined. You keep putting not determined. After a while, they're going to not believe anything you have to say, but it's up to you guys. Condition, to the extent it's... Go ahead.
Sorry, Brick. Back to number 7. It says you can't simply say not visible, though.
That's right.
So what do you say?
Well, they're telling you.
Can't see it?
Yeah, you have to describe. You have to describe. You just simply can't say not visible. It's undetermined. I can't determine what the floor structure is. But anybody who jumps on the floor or jumps on residential, it's going to be framed. It's either framed or concrete. Or you can say not determined, but you can't say not visible. Just telling you right there. Okay, it's telling you what the wording is. So you just make it.
Yeah.
You can copy and paste this wording and put it in your report.
Yeah, the condition though, I mean, that's something different than the type.
Yes, the
So,
condition. Yes, the condition. So when I walk on a floor and the floor is sloping to the east or sloping to the north, that's my condition report. The floor is bouncy. I use that term a lot because no one seems to understand when I say
there you go.
deflection
There you go.
on the floor. I say the floor feels sort of bouncy. And they go, oh, yeah, I understand that. Where I used to write down the floor seems to be deflecting when there's many people standing in the middle of the floor. I don't say that anymore. I just say the floor moved up and down when more than one person was standing in the middle of the second floor framing area. But I just don't have that happen much. Okay, structural notations may be located in the structure section. So they don't care where you put it. So if you're reporting on it, it's not that complicated, everybody. Just as long as you look at the wording here and say not determined, but you just can't say flooring not visible, wall not visible, foundations not visible. You have to use this wording.
If we hear a floor squeak, is that something we need to report?
That's a condition.
Yep.
That's a condition.
It seems so trivial, though.
Okay, here's how it works. The buyer comes in and says, hey, this floor is squeaky. Can you inspect that? Once they say that to you, it better be on your report. That's the way it's working. Okay? You don't have to go in there and say, hey, there's a stain on the floor on the second floor. It looks like someone spilled some sort of substance on the floor. Well, we just say typical stains on flooring in multiple locations and we're done. Okay? What you think is trivial, if the buyer says something to you, it better be in your report because that's what the complaints are coming in, everybody. Okay? We don't need to beat it to death, but the people are complaining. I said it to the home inspector and he just sort of laughed and said, well, it's just an old house. Okay, fine. Okay, wall structure. We did that. Any questions 6, 7, and 8? That's where most of the complaints are coming because the inspector laughed in their face. Number 9, columns. There's an asterisk. I don't even have to have that on my report if there aren't any columns. Okay, so what's a column? Well, a column supports the front porch. So if you take a picture and you say there's no columns and it's in your picture, okay. So framed, masonry, patio, porch, deck. I don't know of a house that doesn't have a porch that doesn't have a post, but they're called columns. Columns. How that became that way is some architect got involved and suddenly a column is a post. So that's how you have to. It has to be in your report, everybody. The word column. I inspected columns on the porch. That's the word.
So walls aren't considered columns?
Well, a wall is a wall and a column is a 4-sided post covered in stucco. Okay, so if there's a column there, 4-sided, or some people are arguing about 3-sided, it's still a column and you have to report on it. Okay, so everything that's here that like right here, column, that has to be in your report form. Wall structure, that has to be in your report form somewhere. So I've made headings. Each one of these headings is a heading in the report. We do a lot of ride-alongs, and so our reports get get checked by people all the times when someone does their one report submitted to the state. Okay, roofs, ceilings, and structure. Observe and report on the type. Truss, conventional framing, not determined. Okay, now, if I have a low slope roof with a 1/4 inch slope and it's built 1950, do you think it's a conventional framed, or do you think it's a truss?
Probably
Conventional.
conventional green.
Well, you walk outside and you look at the eave overhang and I see bird board. It's conventional frame. Come on. Everybody watches This Old House. So I'm telling you, when you say, I don't know, or I can't determine it, they just walk right outside and go, what's that? So, you know, everyone's pretty knowledgeable now. So okay. Conventional framing, not determined, and conditioned to the extent it's visible, roof and ceiling structure, satisfactory, visible, poor, etc. So they're telling you can use those words. It is not acceptable to describe the condition of the framing simply as not visible. Does everybody understand? The reason they picked that word is because there were reports coming in that everything said not visible. There was carpet on the floor and they said concrete floor is not visible. There's drywall on the walls, framing not visible, wiring not visible, plumbing not visible, ductwork not visible. So now they're making you put something there. If you want to say the word satisfactory and could not determined, you can do that in your whole report and you can forget all this wording. Does everybody understand? That's what you can do. Underfloor crawl space. Is that the same as a basement, or is it a crawl space?
Crawl
Different than a
space.
base.
It says crawl space, everybody, right there. Crawl space. So if I can't enter the crawl space because the opening is 12 inches high and the beams are 12 inches off the ground and the beams are 4 inches off the ground, do I even have to crawl in there? Or can I make a statement that I couldn't enter because I don't want to crawl in there? Can I do that?
Yes.
Yes, I can. I didn't crawl in today because today is the day I'm scared of crawling under floors. Okay, so observe and report. Why didn't I go in there? Well, I didn't want to go in there because when I shined my light in there, I saw 2 eyes looking back at me. Its components. Access the floor supports. Okay, we didn't enter the crawl space because it required us to unscrew 8 screws. Once this panel's open, I'll come back for a small fee of $80 or $100. Okay, underfloor. Number 12, observation method. They always want to know, how'd you do it? State how the crawl space and attic were observed. Not needed if the dwelling has no crawl space. Thank you. Not needed if there's no attic. Hey, you guys got it pretty easy. It used to be when this first came out, we had to say the house has no attic. The house has no crawl space. And you know how many people said, you know, I think I'd like a crawl space. What? Whatever. Okay. Common examples. Viewed from the access, fully accessed, partially accessed, blocked by possessions. I don't know how many of these reports I read. They said, we climbed into the attic and we climbed to all areas of the attic space. Why would you say that? What are you, like crazy? You partially accessed. I didn't access, or I viewed from the access point standing on a ladder. See that? Viewed from access. And then tell me, what were you doing? Were you doing pull-ups in the opening, or were you standing on a ladder? Come on, tell me what you're doing. We don't climb through the attic, everybody, unless there's a walkway to get up in there.
I've seen a lot of reports that just say entered.
Yeah, entered attic. What does that mean to me? Okay, so you got to say something there. Viewed from access, or I didn't step off the ladder. I viewed from access standing on ladder. That's what we said. Okay, fully accessed. Damn, I would never want to say that. That's scaring me. Okay, here's what used to be. These inspectors would say, I climb back as far as I can. I take my business card and I throw it like a Frisbee back in the corner so someone else can find it someday and know I've been back there. Really? Okay. The problem is you threw it that 7 or 8 feet where no one can get to. But I've read these reports where the inspector climbed back in. He swam through the insulation. He must have watched Aquaman or something. And he swam back in there and he pulled the insulation out of the way and he found a cracked valley rafter way back under there. So, okay, any questions about 12 or 11 or 10? Okay, let's go to exterior. Wall cladding. Some of these words you'll say, I don't talk that way. Wall cladding needs to be on your report. Wall cladding is stucco, everybody. Okay, observe and report on the type. Stucco, wood siding. Now, what type of stucco do we see? Are there a couple different types? Yeah, there's 4 or 5 different types of stucco. So they want to know, are you going to tell me what kind of stucco it is? So is this an acrylic stucco? Is it a cement-based stucco? Is it, you don't have to say Powerwall, that's a brand, but the acrylic stuccos come out of a can and they're troweled on. I don't see much of that. Or eaves. We don't have much eaves here, but back east, that's everywhere. The energy efficient stucco systems, eaves. Okay. Wood siding, etc. Well, again, this reporting form is so old, they're talking about wood siding. The last time I saw wood siding, Harris and I were wiring up a house with Thomas Edison. The siding today is not wood, everybody. It's made out of wood fiber stuff. Hardy board, any of those brand stuff. You might have some sort of siding.
Composite wood.
Yes.
Composite wood.
Yeah, that's it. Condition, satisfactory, poor, etc. Exterior wall surface. So in that case, it's telling you, you have to tell me the condition. Water damage at the bottom edge of all siding on the west side. Now, what do they have to do about that? Just tell them that and leave it at that? Or are you supposed to tell them you might want to contact somebody? What's your duty? What's your duty based on the reporting? Harris, what do you do?
Make a suggestion.
Huh?
Make a suggestion.
Okay, do you just say monitor?
No.
Monitor water damage? Okay, we don't care what you think as a home inspector. The buyer's the one that's going to do something with this report later, and they'll really love you a lot if you write and tell them what should they do about it. Like contact a wall paneling expert or a trim carpenter or someone. Consult with a carpenter. You don't have to tell them to get it replaced if that makes you feel bad. The roof needs to be replaced. I've heard realtors, like, their heads are exploding when you say that. I'm going, well, the ceiling fell in. You can see the drywall on the floor. It's leaking right now. And they go, well, it's not, you shouldn't be telling us that it needs to be replaced. Okay, but I'm still going to say it on this case because it's leaking. Okay, wall cladding. I don't think there's any questions there. We're done with that one. Flashings and trim. Observe and report on the condition of wall flashings and trim at openings and transitions. Okay, I have a frame stucco house. I have vinyl windows. Is that what trim means? Wall flashings, is that what that means? That's what it means. If there's a gap around a window, that's a wall flashing to a window. Kick-out flashing from the front porch coming down, that's a wall flashing. Trim. Stucco doesn't have a lot of trim. We're trying to get rid of all wood. The builders would like to get rid of all wood if they could. But
Yeah, what about the pop-outs around the window though, Greg?
yeah, that's that's the next thing here. The pop-ups around the windows and stuff, that's still trim, everybody. And the builder isn't following the rules of what the manufacturer says. And if you don't know what those are, we'll do a whole class on what the manufacturer says needs to be done as far as flashings under the stucco and counter flashings to make that water drain out around the window instead of back in through the frame. Okay. Entry door. You're required to report on all exterior doors. See the word right here, all? I cannot believe it, but I had this on my report form when I started doing this class. We didn't have that. We just said report on doors. And I thought it was a sample. Nope, exterior doors, it's all exterior doors. So that means sliding glass doors, the front door, the back door, sliding glass doors. I'll say that again. Sliding glass doors, bedroom doors. That's what it says. So your report form needs to say, inspected all doors and they seem to be functioning, or if you're going to do room by room, however you're doing it, it's telling you needed to make a statement. So if you didn't test all doors, you should probably get a little worried here because you didn't check them. Okay,
Yeah, it says exterior doors though, Rick. I mean,
that's
are we
what I'm
supposed
saying.
to
Exterior.
inspect the bedroom doors?
Well, no. Sliding doors that go outside from a bedroom.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's an
Is there
exterior.
is there a requirement to inspect like bathroom doors, bedroom doors that are down the hallway of the center of the house?
That's a different one. Interior doors are different. Exterior doors, it's all exterior doors.
Okay.
So this was one of the complaints that came in. They didn't check all exterior doors. So they had a bathroom door that went outside into the porch to the pool area, and it was supposed to be self-closing. Well, that's not a requirement that you report on self-closing, but they made a big deal out of the fact they were inspecting a house for pool requirements. Okay, so all exterior doors. So that's it. If you walk from the house through a door to the outside, that's an exterior door. Windows. Observe and report on the condition and operation of a representative number. Well, now we're back to this. Representative number may be reported in exterior, interior sections. I have that in the interior and the exterior, so I can make sure I don't miss anything. Now, a representative number, would that be like one per room?
That's what it means.
Yeah, that's what it means, one per room. So if I'm in the living room and it has 2 windows, could I just ignore one of the windows? That's what it means.
You could get away with it.
That's what it means, everybody. It's better just to say, you check the operation of all windows. It says operation. Does everybody see that word right there? Operation. So does that mean the window should slide open and closed without the effort of you leaning against it? So if I can't open it and it's really hard, I've watched inspectors do an inspection and they've had to lean against the window and sort of push on it with all their might. And they say, yeah, window opened. Well, sure, yeah, if you're a weightlifter or you're, Okay, so the condition of the window. There's some people writing up windows saying they're installed backwards and they're saying the drains are in backwards. And I'm going, all you have to say is, I don't think the window was installed per the manufacturer's requirements. And then everyone will believe you instead of saying the window has been installed backwards. And I go there and it has little drains in it. So all these have little drains, a little damper that opens up to drain the, and it's facing outward. And they're going, oh, I don't like the way this window fits in here. Whatever. Okay, any questions about windows or doors? Garage door opener. This whole thing's going to be changed if things come about here. Right now, this is in report writing for the state, and they want to change this requirement for the garage door opener. So it says here, observe and report on the condition and operation, including safety reverse. Okay, now, safety reverse means what? The photo eyes where you walk in front of it and it just pops up? Or does it mean that you have to check it for reasonable resistance and then it reverses if it hits that? Which one is it?
Both.
Both.
Both of them.
Both.
It's both, because safety reverse is 2 things. And so the lawyers said, well, that's both. So now they're talking about rewording this, and they're saying, check the safety reverse by any method you'd like. And I said, well, why would you say that? Right now it's reasonable resistance, and we're just move on. There is no rule that you have to pull the safety release cord and verify the spring is working. There's no requirement for that. It just says you have to check the operation of safety reverse. So that's the photo eyes and the reasonable resistance. You stand in front of it and it pops back up. They want you to test it according to the Door Institute, which is throw a 2x4 underneath it and then let it crush it and then reverse. I think that'll be a problem. But so when it gets down to that, I need all of you to write an email saying we like the way it is or we don't. So okay, so a garage door opener is an automatic opener. So you push the button like a homeowner would, and the door goes down. The door comes up. The new doors, they have a safety reverse at the top and bottom. So it's both. So, okay, decks, balconies, and steps. Oh, so 17 has an asterisk. So if it doesn't have a garage door opener, you don't have to report on it. Well, I don't know if any house you have that has a garage. If it is a garage, it doesn't have an opener on it anymore. But whatever.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
You're out there.
Okay.
I have a question on the auto.
I can't understand you. You have to get closer to the mic.
I have a question in regards to the pull release for the garage door.
Yes,
Okay, so if you pull the release and the door's not properly tensioned, that's an issue with the garage door operation. Would you agree?
yes,
Okay, so if the door isn't properly tensioned and it flings up and hits the garage motor, or if it doesn't move at all, wouldn't it be best to just test the pull release to make sure that it's operational?
yes,
Because it does impede on the operation overall for the door?
yes.
Okay,
I don't disagree with anything you said, but what we have is we have three statements that we did not
Gotcha.
pull the safety cord during this inspection.
okay,
If there's a car in there, we just won't do it.
okay,
So we
Copy.
have that statement, but we do pull that, but we never pull it with the door open. We always shut the door, pull the safety
Correct.
cord, lift the door up 2 feet, and then let go of it.
correct.
Yeah, we don't pull it so it swings down like a guillotine and hits the floor because it
No,
scares.
I pull the releases when they're down. I pulled one the other day and the door literally shot straight up like a rocket.
Awesome. I
And
wish videotape that next time.
I wish I would have, but I was afraid I would break it again if I tried it, so I didn't. That's why I pull them and I just notate on them for the tensioners.
Yeah, so before you pull that cord, we always put the door up and we look up to see the spring and make sure the spring isn't broken. Okay?
Correct.
So yeah, we always do that. But yes, I helped write some of these rules way back when, and that's not one where we're requiring you to do it, but I started doing it after these type of things happen with the springs. So it's a good thing, everybody. Okay, any other questions about garage door openers? Okay, decks, balconies, and steps. Observe and report a condition. There's not much to that. Some other states, there's nothing in our state that requires you to check the deck and the balconies and the steps for spacing and railing height and all that other stuff. So some of you are sort of trying to come up with something, 4 inches on the verticals and the railing height of 36 and all this other stuff. We'll probably do some classes on that, but there are all these codes in regards to that. So October 30th, we're having a building inspectors come on the scariest day of the year in Phoenix to one of our classes, and they're going to talk for 2 hours or 2.5 hours and then take questions on these rules for decks, balconies on pre-existing houses and the new rules that might be enforced later, so that anything affecting the codes that you're not inspecting to, but you're still writing them up, or many of them are in here. Okay. Okay. Porch area railings. Again, if there's no decks or steps or railings, you don't have to say there aren't any. But if there are, you're going to have to report on them. So is there anybody here that thinks a railing under 36 inches is okay? Why 36? Why not 34? Why not 35? Because 36 seems to be the industry standard, which we inspect to now. Okay? But it used to be, there was no rule. Okay. Eaves, soffits, and fascia. Observe and report on condition. Again, eaves, soffits, fascia. Now, this is all exterior stuff, everybody. You don't have to report on a soffit inside the house. The soffit is the enclosed eaves, which is very common in some areas up north where someone might have a house there. Okay, vegetation. This is one I cannot believe how many complaints there are. If there's a tree branch rubbing against the roof, are you going to write it up or not?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And it says right here, observe and report on any adverse impact on the building. Well, it's touching the building. It's rubbing against the house. It's leaning towards the house. Okay. But a lot of people will say vegetation is impacting the building. They write this down just like this. Can you tell me what you mean? Is it the grass on the ground or is it the tree? Okay. Tree branches are rubbing on the roof. Just tell me, please. Inform me what you think you're telling me. Vegetation is impacting the house. Okay. Grading and drainage. Where is this grading? Where is the drainage? Where? North, south, east, west, or is it everywhere? Okay. may have adverse impact on the building. Okay, that's what they're telling you. This isn't in the SOPs, but they're giving you guidance. You're just supposed to report on grading and drainage. Does grading and drainage have to flow away from the building, everybody? Yes,
Yeah.
away. How many feet away? I don't care. It just can't pond against the foundation. There is a rule, 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet. I don't care. Away from the building, okay? But once we get into this pissing match where we're talking about, oh, it's 5 feet by code and la, 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 then we're toast because there's so many different rules depending on where you're at in the city, county, states. Okay, patio, walls,
Hey,
driveways.
Greg?
Yes.
So on my report, I have vegetation, grading, and drainage in one comment, and I report on those items in that one line item. Do you suggest we separate vegetation from grading and drainage if that's the way it appears on our reports?
Absolutely. Yes. That's why we're showing you this. Vegetation. Yeah, it's just better because under vegetation, when a tree is hitting a roof, you should have that in the roof section and report on that. So that's like the number one complaint. And then tree branches rubbing against the house, but they're hitting the, yes, I would separate that out. So we didn't do this originally. Now, if it's separated, we just do it. Come on, it's digital. You just split it out and move on. Okay, so grading and drainage, patios, walkways, retaining walls. Okay, a retaining wall and a restraining wall are different. Harris, a retaining wall is how high?
5 feet.
Yeah, anything over 4 feet is a retaining wall, everybody.
You
Why?
just said 5, you said 4.
Yeah, I know.
I said 5
Yeah, he
because
said
that's the
5.
limit that you can go without, additional engineering.
Yeah, right. So what he's saying is a patio wall is 5 feet, but a retaining wall in the code, again, I'm throwing something out here, anything over 4 feet requires engineering. Engineering. So when you go to a new building site, it's really weird. You'll say, why have they terraced this lot with a wall, another wall, another wall, and another wall? Because anything under 4 feet doesn't require any engineering. So that's why you'll see 5, 6, 7 terraces coming up, or you'll see riprap. They're trying to get away from that. And if it's new construction and you're walking along and it's all sort of gooey as you're walking, I'd probably write that up. I always like it when I say, well, there's no drainage here. This wall's going to fall over when it rains. They go, be quiet. And then I come back after a big rainstorm. It's laying on the ground. Okay. So retaining walls, observe and report a condition and any adverse impact on the building. Okay. So a 2-foot high patio wall is not a retaining wall, everybody. It's a small patio wall, and typically they're not restraining anything. Okay, roofing. Here it is. Here's the roofing section. Roof coverings, absorb and describe the covering. Okay, it's got a tile roof, mission tile. We'll say it that way at the moment. Shingle, tile, rolled, composition, etc., and report on the condition. I can tell you the type of tile, but I know the condition. A roofer familiar with tile must inspect and walk the roof to determine the complete condition of this roof, whatever the wording is. We'll go look at roofing and see what I have to say. And that's what it has to say, everybody. Okay. We didn't walk on the roof. A licensed roofer needs to do that. Okay. The insurance companies right now aren't hassling us, but if they heard you're climbing on a tile roof with your little itty bitty ladders, they'd probably take away your insurance because you're not insured once you go over 17 feet or whatever distance it might be. Drainage systems. Now, is drainage the gutter and downspouts? Well, yeah, it says right here. I don't have to report on that because it's not a requirement. But many of you say the house needs to have gutters installed. You're telling them something that wasn't required when it was built, but you're doing that because you're required to report on what? Drainage and grading. So I never write down you should install gutters just for no reason. I say that water is ponding in these areas and water needs to be diverted away from the building. Okay? I don't tell them how to do it because I'm telling you, if there's a problem later due to settlement, you're toast. Okay, flashings, penetrations, skylights, and chimneys. Okay, how many of you report on So no comments to report if no skylights and chimneys exist. So you don't have to say, again, it used to be you had to say there's no skylights. This house has no chimney. So you don't have to say there are no skylights. But if there are skylights, you have to report that I didn't check the condition of the skylights because they're covered in sun cloth.
Question.
Yes, Bill.
Are you saying that we should recommend gutters for houses that don't have gutters?
No, I said the opposite of that. I don't recommend gutters for a house just to say it needs gutters. That's up to the client to determine. But if they walk up to me and they say, should I have gutters in this house? I'll say in the report, we do not say one way or another whether gutters should be installed. You should contact a specialist in gutter installation to determine whether gutters are a good idea in your house. That's it. I move on. I think my house should have a SEER 17 air conditioner. Those type of things. And it never ends. I think I should have low E glass. It just never ends. So once you start to, no, I don't report on, I should have gutters. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Number 28 right here. This is number 2 on the list of things. Evidence of leaking. Observe and report on evidence of leakage or abnormal condensation may be noted in the roof, attic, or interior sections. So if I go into the attic and there's water stains, which you're going to have on any house prior to 2021, if you're in the attic and there's a stain in there, you better say there's a stain in there, because that's what it's telling you right there. You don't have to say the roof. And then they say, well, how do we know it's not leaking? Well, I don't know. Then you're going to have to tell them to get a roofer there. But I'm quite sure it's an old stain. I just did a roof inspection and there were like stains all over this building inside. And when I went on the roof, it was like a brand new roof. I said, well, these stains are all old. Ooh, you're taking a chance. Well, I don't know. If I can't tell the roof's leaking freshly and it's been raining 9 days in a row, there's no signs of any. So you have to report on evidence of leakage, everybody. There's a water stain in the living room. There's a water stain, an old stain on the porch. That's what it's telling you there. Okay. Method to observe. How did you observe the roof? Walked. And they don't mean just put the word walked in your report. Did you get up on the roof and walk around? I walked all areas of the roof from one parapet to the other. There isn't anything I didn't see.
No.
I don't say that. Come on. I said we went on the roof and we inspected it for the conditions at this time, and here's what we saw. Viewed from the ladder. Well, okay, that means I saw nothing then. I viewed your roof from my car. I rolled down the window. I mean, you might as well say that. Fully viewed. Oh my God, who are you, crazy? Fully viewed. Partially viewed. I could say that, partially viewed. Not all areas visible. I have a 612 pitch on a shingle roof. You get up there like a wildcat and you jump on that roof and start grabbing it and scamper up to the top and hold on to the ridge. I mean, I hear these guys back east, they're renting cherry pickers, these big cranes, and they're moving around on the roof, and I'm going, well, why? Either way, there it is. We're just inspectors, everybody. If you're getting more than, we're not talking money here, but either way, we're just inspecting. Okay, plumbing, interior supply, distribution. One of the things you're going to have to say here is what type of piping it is. What type of piping it is. What type of piping it is. The house is built in 1950. What kind of pipe does it have?
Galvanized.
Oh, it's got galvanized. Come on. And you say, I don't know. I think it might be poly. Well, then it's probably been replumbed. Okay. Must describe type of piping material, specifically copper, polybutylene. Now, I don't know if any of you realize, is polybutylene bad? It's bad. It's been on recall. Everyone's suing each other. If you think it's got it in it, so I wrote it up on a house. I said it's got polybutylene. They said, oh, it's been replumbed. Okay. I had them turn on the hot water. I held the pipe and the water was hot. The pipe was hot. They said they replumbed it, but when I hold the polybutylene with my hand and I turn on the hot water at the other end of the house, the pipe gets hot. So undoubtedly, it's still being used. Okay. Galvanized. When it has a house with galvanized pipe in it, I say this house, you need to call a plumber. I don't tell them they need to replumb it unless it's leaking everywhere, everybody. This house has galvanized piping. You need to call a plumber familiar with this type of pipe and get estimates for replacement if needed, or it needs them. But you can almost say you see galvanic reaction, you see pinholes, you see rust in the pipe. It's everywhere on the visible sections. Okay, not simply plastic or metal. You have to tell them what you think it is and the condition to the extent. Roger, what do you say about galvanized pipe up there where you are?
Oh, a lot of old galvanized systems. I did one just the other day. It was working fine. There was no reduction of flow or anything, but it was all galvanized.
Okay, how many of you go to the toilet tank? It's original, and you open up the lid and you look inside it and the tank is brown. The tank is brown. And then you take a ferrous metal detecting tool called a magnet and you dip it down inside there and you dip it around a few times and you pull it out, and on the end, what's there? What used to be the pipe. So that's what I
Right,
do
rust
now.
particles.
Yeah, the particles of the pipe that used to be there. Iron's good for you, but not that good. So we just say, well, this pipe is not long. It could fail at any time from what we can see. And so Roger says it's working fine. I say that too. But man, this house is going to have to be replumbed pretty soon. And they go, well, it's 50 years old. That's my point. It's 50 years old. And a replumb job on a house is what? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 grand?
Depends on the size of the house, but
Right
yeah.
on. There we go. Thank you, Roger. You should be a contractor also. Okay. 31. Anybody have any questions about 30? Piping? I hate the word monitor for galvanized pipe. If you just stop saying that, I would feel better, but I'm not telling you how to write your reports, okay? Well, I like that background, Bill. That looks good. It looks like you're in front of a brick wall with a lamp behind you. Nice. Good job. Okay. Supports and insulation. What do they mean by that? Well, that means how's the pipe being supported where I can see it. So I always had a problem with this. If I had an enclosed rafter space, low slope, framed, how can I talk about the supports and insulation? Well, I can say the supports are not visible because they're installed in the wall or the insulation is covering them over. I'm saying that. I don't say they're not visible. I describe what I'm seeing. Okay, damage, missing, or not required. But this whole thing was based on when these were written. It's based on all this piping being visible in the basement or in the attic space. So if you have polybutylene or PEX, let's use PEX as a better example, in the attic, and the insulation's not covering it as required, then you need to write that up. So how many of you write up the whole ceiling? You're up there on your little ladder, you're trotting around, and you see the pipe sticking up out of the insulation, and it's running like a porpoise through the attic, and then it's exposed to the heat of the attic. Do you write that up, or do you just ignore that? Well, now you won't ignore it. But either way, you'll probably write that up and say the pipe is up out of the insulation. Have a plumber who's familiar with the insulation requirements of PEX consult with you as to your options. Okay?
I thought they did that so you could see it.
No, the requirement for PEX is not to be exposed to any UV light. That's number one.
Well, the attic is enclosed.
Well, I can almost explain to you, if we went up there, the ventilation requirements for gable end venting, there is some light up in there. So some aren't, but either way, if it's a fully insulated space, we're fine. But I just make a note of it because I have to, because if we have a freezing day, so when we had that freezing weather in the 19 degrees, pipes were freezing up in attics all the time because they were up outside of the insulation. Yes, Bill?
What about over the garage where there is no insulation?
Well, typically the builders will insulate that. If not, I make a note of it that it's not insulated.
Garages aren't insulated. Who insulates garages?
No, the pipe's not insulated. Not about the garage. The pipe's not insulated for weather.
Oh,
I
didn't know that.
That's what it says right there. Visible.
And one more thing, UV rays penetrate the roof tiles and the roof substructure and get into to the attic to ruin the pipe.
Yes, thank you, Harris. They also sell UV foiled
It's
sheathing.
called radiant barrier.
Yeah, radiant barrier. Thank you, Harris. I'm glad you came up with that word. Radiant barrier. It's a foil that radiates the light waves back away from that area, which can penetrate any surface. Cool. Okay, we should do a class on this. I see it now. Okay, let's go to 32. 32, support fixtures and faucets. Operation, it says all fixtures right here, everybody. All. What's that mean? All.
All,
Oh,
each
Yeah,
one.
that's what it means. The toilet is a fixture. The sink is a fixture. 2 sinks are fixtures. And maybe report in the plumbing section or individual room description areas. Okay. I have split up my bathrooms. I have split up my sink. Instead of having all plumbing under one area, I've split them into the area I'm in so I can just fill in my report and move on. We used to be fixtures, and then you'd have to go to either way. They're in the room I'm in. Functional flow. If you don't have this, the first thing is your reports is non. It doesn't conform. Okay.
Yeah,
Functional
this
flow.
this is one of the statements that's a low hanging fruit for someone that's evaluating a inspection report. That's one of the first things they look for: functional flow and functional drainage, because a lot of inspectors don't put it in there, which is wrong, but that's what happens, and that's easy prey.
Yeah. Why don't you tell me what you mean in my report? What should I do? Should I write the word functional flow in my report?
Have the word functional flow or the term functional flow in the report. In my plumbing section, it says that there's functional flow at all fixtures throughout the house. If I find one that's not working, then I have to change that. But nonetheless, that automatically goes in my report.
Okay, and that's volume, not pressure, right?
Functional flow is volume, yes. Pressure is different.
Yeah.
They work hand in hand, but pressure is different.
Okay, everybody.
Most people are going to say, does it got good pressure? I say, well, I don't know about the pressure, but it does flow nice.
Yeah, and they don't know what they mean, everybody. So you go to the
Exactly.
shower. So what he's saying is true. You go to the shower, you flush the toilet, and the water flow drops down. And I say to everybody, see how that dropped? And they go, yeah. That means the functional flow is bad. And then we have to figure out why. And then we go out, we check the pressure, and we flush a toilet, and the pressure drops by 10 or 15 pounds PSI, and the pressure regulator might be defective, or there might be a restriction of flow somewhere. It shouldn't drop that much. So either way, functional flow, you need it to report, everybody. I put it in the plumbing section in the kitchen, and I put it in the plumbing section outside, and I put it in the area for the bathrooms. Okay? That way I can just check it as I'm going along, so I don't have to go back and remove it everywhere else. Okay, water supply leaks. Observe and report on any evidence of supply side leaks. You know, Roger, I like the way you talk. What does supply side mean?
Well, that's where the water comes from.
You mean after the valve, before the faucet?
Well, both.
Anywhere, everybody. From the meter in, right?
Yeah, from the meter in into every fixture throughout the house.
Yeah. I don't understand. They have this as an asterisk. You're not required to report on this if there aren't any leaks. I'm telling you, it's in our report. We just say there aren't any, or there are, or there's past signs of leaks around the faucets. This is number one for us, or number two. So the word leak. This is it. Okay, cross connections.
It's got an asterisk.
It has an asterisk, but I'm telling you, every dishwasher every built has this thing built in, but you can't see it. So we get to write it up. It gives us something to do. There's no high loop or missing anti-siphon. You know, they used to have all these little anti-siphon things built up on the sink. The thing would back up and then make a mess all over the kitchen.
Yeah.
It would back up everywhere. So I don't know.
What about the hose bib on the exterior?
Yeah,
Does that have to have an anti-siphon on it as well?
Yeah, we write those up all the time. So you need anti-siphon. Now, some of the hose bibs have it built in, and you know what it says on the hose bib stamped in the brass? It says built in. It's anti-siphon on it.
It's supposed to resemble an arrow.
Yes, it has an arrow on it. Now, all the ones with an arrow aren't correct. So what we've been doing is we put our pressure valve on the one we want to check, and then we open the water, and when we open it up all the way, in the stem, there's 2 holes and water squirts out of that, the anti-siphon. That's how it functions. So we're able to actually look if it's not there. We should do a class on that one too. But these are Arrow brand faucets.
Real quick, Brick.
Who is it?
I didn't get burned, but contractor schooled me on a new build.
Sure.
I used to think that ABP with the arrow meant anti-back pressure,
Yeah.
and it wasn't. It was an actual Arrow brand product. Now, the ones that have the built-in anti-siphon, they are an Arrow brand product solely, and they also say, like Brick said, anti-siphon right there, usually painted over multiple times. And then the other one that's built in is going to be a frost, what is it, Silcock?
Yeah. Right.
So, which we don't have down here. Or maybe, I think, Roger, you're up north, right?
Yes.
So you probably have some of those up there. But so, yes, arrows are an Arrow brand product, but only the ones that say anti-siphon on them are going to be actual built-in anti-siphons. Okay, I'm done.
No, that's perfect. Who just said that?
Rick from Voyager.
Oh, Rick. Yes. Thank you for being, thank you. So when the faucet is delivered, it has a large orange tag on it, which they rip off immediately. The orange tag states that it has built-in anti-siphon. We did a class on that because I put down 3 or 4 different Arrow brand, and none of them except for one have the anti-siphon built into it. So it's sort of interesting. But yes, the builders are always very good at telling you. And then I said, well, why don't we just have the plumber come over here and tell us that that's really true? And sure enough, they were putting in the wrong faucets. But you have to be very careful what you're saying, everybody. Being schooled by the builder is very, very embarrassing. I've had that happen. Waste and vent piping. I never said that. I didn't know what that meant, but for the last 10 years, I've been saying it now. So even though I don't go on a tile roof, thank you, Bill, I do look up there and I say, wait a minute, the sewer vent pipe is plastic and it looks like it's ABS. I don't see much PVC here, but the guys back east, when they see that black pipe, they go, oh my God, that stuff is crap. Well, that's because they use PVC. We use ABS here for a certain reason. Do you know why that is, Harris?
No, not really.
Yeah.
It's just sunlight resistant.
Sunlight resistant. There we go. Yeah. PVC breaks down so much easier in the sun. Okay. Observe and report on the type. Must describe the type of piping specifically. Specifically. What's that mean? Describe it. ABS, plastic, galvanized. And they want you to say the word ABS plastic, which I thought was sort of weird. But maybe no one knows what ABS means. So we just...
It means all black stuff.
Yeah, the black stuff. We just say non-metallic.
All black stuff.
We say non-metallic because I like my buyers to ask me, what does that mean? But we say ABS non-metallic. Not simply plastic or metal. So, yeah. And the condition, including drain traps. What? Okay. Yeah, they want to know what the condition of the drain traps are under the sinks. Like, is it rusted out? I mean, I see these reports, and he does too. The P-trap looks like it's covered in barnacles. It's white from calcium leaking through it, and they'll say monitor in case this leaks. It's leaking already. I don't know. We must be scared of saying this P-trap needs to be replaced or trapped. Okay, drain leaks. Observe and condition of waste system piping, drain leaks. Again, that's the drain traps, the traps under the P-traps, like the letter P. Functional drainage. Okay, observe and report on the waste system functional drainage and describe method used to determine to have the term functional drainage on the report. I don't know what happened to it. It used to say for what happened to functional flow where it said with two fixtures on at the same time. It's been removed. Weird. Huh. Okay. Is it in our SOPs? Anybody got a copy near them? It used to say something like with 2 fixtures on, the flow is functional. I'd have to go pull it, but weird. And then functional drainage. Okay, for a sink to be functional, everybody, when I turn on the faucet, it should take the same amount of water that comes out of the faucet. That's how drainage works. If I turn the shower on full blast and the drain doesn't take it, there's something wrong. It's not functional. If I fill the tub with water from the faucet, it should take that water and drain, not fill up. That means the drain isn't working properly. Everybody says, well, if I run it slower, it works. It's still not working properly. The way plumbing is designed is the fixture units are based on the water coming out of the faucet and going down the drain. Okay, 39, water heating equipment operating controls. Observe and report on the type, electric, gas, solar, and condition, operational or inoperative. Is it making hot water? This may sound weird to some people. Is it making hot water?
Yes.
Well, that's what operational means. And they'll say water heater is operational, and then in the report it says gas was locked off during inspection. Well, it's not operational then, everybody. The gas was locked off. Okay, so water heater, there's a whole pile of stuff. Oh, wait a minute. They have it broken down right below. Automatic safety controls, TPR valve, thermocouple, etc. Now, I did a report we submitted, and the guy said, well, you didn't report on the thermocouple. So we didn't add that to our report, but we do have the TPR valve as a separate item now under automatic safety controls. My understanding is now automatic safety controls could be the disconnect or the fuses or the breaker that control the unit on an electric water heater. Okay, flues and vents. If it's gas, it has them. If it doesn't, if it's electric, there are no flues and vents, so you don't have to put that. So we have a statement that says this is an all-electric home. We put that in there multiple locations. Observe and report. Required if dwelling has gas water heater and report on flues and combustion air ventilation. Combustion air ventilation. We've added that as a separate section now because suddenly combustion air ventilation has become a big deal since people are tired of being asphyxiated by fumes. This last year, 2020, was the first year the state of Arizona started installing those smoke detectors. Have been in new housing for since '79, I think. What's that other thing they put in for carbon monoxide? Oh, okay, never mind. It's called carbon monoxide detectors. That's a requirement starting last year. And then there's a requirement to have fire sprinkler systems installed, but they sort of put that off. You'll see that eventually. Maybe they're doing that in Moran or somewhere. Okay, fuel storage and fuel distribution systems and supports. This goes back to fuel oil. So this maybe is an old fuel storage and fuel distribution. Now, if you have a house that has propane, is this a requirement then?
Yes.
Yes, that's what it says. You have to report on the fact that it has a propane tank, at the fact that you don't do what to the tank. Does anybody here inspect propane tanks? Ever?
No.
No,
No.
you
Not
don't
really.
inspect them. So put it on your report. We don't inspect the safety or condition of propane tanks. That's what it needs to say. Okay? And the condition of all fuel storage, fuel piping, and supports were visible. Well, I'm reporting on the condition that we don't report on it. It's a leased unit. So we say it's leased or owned. Is it leased or owned? You're not required to know that, but you're required to report on the condition of all fuel storage tanks. This is an old reporting thing from fuel storage in basements in homes back east. You'd walk in there and the fuel oil, which Harris and maybe some of you others have, would be running all over the floor. And they'd say, well, why didn't you say anything? It's all over the floor. Okay, electrical. Ooh, Harris is all excited now. He just woke up. Okay. Ooh, service type. Report on its type, overhead or underground. That's the requirement, everybody. Is it overhead or underground? And the condition. It's underground. I cannot report on the condition because we can't see the wiring. It's invisible. Overhead. The overhead wires as seen appear to be functional. I'm done. Service conductor. Observe and report on its type, copper or aluminum. and condition. The last time I saw a surface conductor was copper was quite a while ago. So aluminum seems to be my one. I say it's multi-strand aluminum, and the condition is viewed appears to be functional. You may report on both the type and condition as not visible if visibility is restricted. What?
Yes.
Come on. They just told me earlier I couldn't say that.
Well, that was a different category.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Either way, I just don't use the word not visible because they said earlier I couldn't do it. Now suddenly they're saying I can. Okay, does everybody understand? There it is. Visibility is restricted. See, that's what I like to say. Visibility is restricted because it's buried in the ground. Okay, it's a foggy day. I can't see it. Service ground. Observe and report on the presence and condition of the system visible grounding. Harris, what does that mean in English? A short sentence. Go ahead.
If you could see the ground, say you see it and observe the type it is.
Okay, when you mean see it, you mean like if it's in the panel, I can say that?
Right, when you look where it comes up the wall or comes out from a UFR, see where it enters the panel and enters onto the ground bar. Make sure it's connected to the ground bar.
Okay, so when you remove the dead front cover, is that what you mean, Harris?
Right, when you remove the dead front cover, you're going to see two aluminum bars on the outside edge of the panel, and the ground should go to one side.
Okay, and then you have to report whether it's copper or aluminum, right?
That is correct.
Okay, service ground, report on the presence of the condition of the system visible grounding. So if it isn't visible, what can you say?
It's not visible.
Here's your second one I can say not visible, everybody, because it's telling me that. So does everybody understand? Under electrical, someone's head just blew open suddenly, and now I can say not visible. But under structures, they're just mad. Okay, overcurrent protection devices. Harris, in English, short sentence. What's an overcurrent
Fuse
protection
or a
device?
circuit breaker.
What?
A fuse or a circuit breaker.
Oh, okay. So it tells me here breakers or fuses. Okay, report on the type. So if I have a main panel, I have to report that the breakers in the main panel appear to be functional.
Yes.
Okay, and if I have a sub panel inside with fuses in it, I can say that the 30 amp Edison based fuses are functional and are okay, or should I say an electrician should verify their safety and upgrade if necessary?
The second part.
Thank
It should
you.
be verified for the safety.
Okay, does everybody understand? I can have a good service outside that's been upgraded, and inside I could have a service with fuses and pennies underneath the fuses that make this house an unsafe. Okay, main and distribution panel. They want to know what's the size of the service, probably. Oh, here it is. Service amperage and voltage. Report on the service amperage and voltage rating. What does that mean, Harris?
You need to know what the voltage is and look at the circuit breaker or fuses to see the size of the fuses to determine the size of the service.
Okay, now, what if there's no main breaker in the main disconnect panel? Would that ever happen?
Yeah, it would be called a split bus panel, and that split bus means it comes right from the power company right into the top of the panel, and that's considered a main section.
Okay, so I would have to report that there's 4 mains or 6 mains or however many there are.
6 mains would be the maximum.
Okay, does everybody understand? You can't have more than 6 ever. And if there are, it's bad. Right, Harris?
That is correct.
Thank you. So if I have a split bus panel, some of you might write up that a split bus panel is old and an electrician should verify its safety and replace if necessary. Is that what you would say, Harris?
Yes,
Thank you. Okay, branch circuit conductors. What does that mean?
that's the wires that go from the circuit breakers or fuses out to all the branch circuits or the receptacle switches or lights.
Okay, so you have to observe and report on condition. If you look in there and the wires are burnt or they're oxidized, it needs to be on a report. If there's 2 wires doubled up, Harris, would that be bad?
Yes, that's called double tapping.
Okay, but if I have a breaker, so everyone says, oh, it's a breaker designed for it. How many breakers are designed to have 2 wires attached to them?
2 of them right now, Cutler Hammer and Square D.
Okay, that's it, everybody. So if you see those and it's not those 2 brands, just write it up, let an electrician take a look at it, and let's move on. Okay, aluminum branch wiring. If it's single strand, and how do you know?
It's bad. It's bad.
Bad. You look at the panel and it's single strand, everybody. You can see it going into the breakers. It's still bad. Write it up. Now, there is some new aluminum wire that's being used up in some areas, unless someone can tell me that that's okay. So here it has the word monitor. Okay, I would never do that. I'm always going to say evaluate by appropriate person. See that? Evaluate appropriate person. Now, you can use that wording, but I say an appropriate person who's an expert in electrical wiring. That's what I say. Because to someone else, an appropriate person might be Uncle Johnny. He was the best guy at wiring up batteries in my car when they went bad, and he's the best. Okay, 51, compatibility. If the wire is not the correct size, is that wrong?
That's absolutely wrong.
Okay, lights and switches. Observe and report a condition. Representative number, everybody. I don't have to climb behind the couch and check every receptacle. Okay, Roger. If I have a room with 3 or 4 outlets, one in each room is required. Can I just do 2 of them?
Yeah, you can.
Can I do just one?
You can do just one. It says representative amount.
Thank you.
Representative means one.
Yeah, if the house is vacant, do you do all 4?
Well, yeah, in my normal practice, yeah, I do all of them if I can.
Yeah,
I can
okay.
get to them.
So if a house is occupied, this is why that's there, everybody. You need to put something like the house is occupied. Furniture prevents the inspection of all receptacles, okay? If you don't put that, you're going to be dead in the water later. Okay, receptacles, polarity, and ground. What's a receptacle, Harris?
Receptacle is a place where you can tap power from to plug in a lamp or a light or something.
Is a receptacle something we call an outlet?
An outlet is a receptacle.
Okay, thank you. Okay, condition of a representative number again. Representative number including adverse conditions such as reverse polarity. Okay, we have a separate section that says outlets were checked and there's no reverse polarity. That's what we say. Open neutrals, improper grounding. Okay, but we have a section that says we found no reverse polarity at the time of the inspection. We just put that on there now because we're just tired of writing it. Ground fault circuit interrupters. Okay, all existing GFCI devices. Okay, this is a pet peeve of the people that listen to complaints. So if I have a GFI outside in the garage and I can't get to it, or it's hooked up to a freezer with meat from the big game hunt they just took, you need to say, I didn't check the GFCIs in the garage because there's a freezer in there. Am I allowed to do that, Roger?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay. When you leave, this is one thing we've added for all of you that want to do it. When we left, the refrigerator in the garage was on. We've added that to our reporting because we're getting tired.
It's been on a report for quite some time.
Yeah, well, it's been there a long time.
Upon leaving the premises, the freezer or refrigerator located in the garage was fully operational.
Yeah, and we just used the word it was on and cooling when we left. Yeah, or operational, whatever word you want to say. If you're not the last one out, then you say the house. There were still people at the house when we left because they always call back up and say, "Hey, you didn't shut the door." Well, yeah, there were 3 of you still wandering around. So ground fault circuit interrupters, everybody. Okay, heating.
Snap a picture of their hot dog package that they have in the freezer so that if they do call and complain that you killed it and they say their $400 worth of meat was ruined, you can say, yeah, I'll replace your 1 package of hot dogs that was in there.
Yes, thank you. I like that. Usually they lock it. They know we're coming, so they've locked their freezer. Okay, heating equipment, observe and report. We're in Tucson, you're in Phoenix. We just have a blanket statement that says it was too hot to run the heater. Some of you turn it on and force it to run. I find that sort of crazy, but you can do whatever you'd like. I've never had anyone call me and say, it was 104, you could have turned on the heater, why didn't you do it? Well, first of all, they're not designed to run at that, and the thermostat wouldn't let it run. But you'll say, oh, I put ice cubes on it. Okay, whatever. We're not forcing it to turn on. Energy source, report.
Rick, real quick, I do the same thing, but what temperature do you stop testing the heat?
Above 75.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm walking around, I'm not outside being broiled by the sun, and I can turn the thermostat on and it turns on itself, I'll turn it on. That's the rule. But you know, when it's 80 or so, there used to be a rule with all these heating companies, and they would say right on it, they say don't run the heater above 80 degrees. You know, so the electronic ones, most of these won't allow you to run it anyway. But yeah, 75 degrees is sort of my you know, for heaters. Air conditioners, we won't run them once below 65 for 24 hours. Operating controls, thermostat. Observe, we don't force them on everybody. We use the thermostat that's there. Or if it's running and it's one of those fancy ones that operates electronically like a leaf, we don't even touch them. We just say we did not touch the electronic thermostat at this time. The air conditioner was running when we got there. They'll call you later and say, hey, you played around with my electronic stuff. Automatic safety controls. Okay, what is an automatic safety control on a furnace?
Limit
There you
switch,
go.
thermocoupler.
Okay, is the furnace blower door an automatic safety control?
Yes,
Yes, it is. The furnace door cutoff switch is an automatic safety control, everybody. Okay, limit switches, they turn it on and off. So if you run it through a cycle, you tried it. Thermocouple, you don't have too many of those anymore, but they're pretty old. So automatic safety controls, we could not test automatic safety controls. They appear to be there. I mean, I don't know how you want to say it. Chimneys, flues, and vents. Required if dwelling has a gas heater. Boom. Flues. So again, if we have an all-electric home, just so there's no misunderstanding, we'll say this is an all-electric home in multiple locations. We've had people say, well, I thought I was buying a house with gas because I want to have a stove that's gas. Well, I'm afraid it's an all-electric house. We said it repeatedly. Solid fuel heating devices. What's that mean? It burns solid fuel. I call it a fireplace, everybody. But back east, they call it wood stoves, pellet stoves. Oh, I'm sorry. If I was up in Prescott, I would call it a wood stove also.
You would?
Well, depending on where I'm at. Thank you.
and a pellet stove.
Yeah.
Pellet stoves are pretty popular.
Yeah, they are. I'll take it back what I said. Distribution system. Radiator, ducts, not required to describe material. Wow. Not required to describe material. So we used to have to say flex duct, or metal ductwork. Well, you can't say it because it's usually enclosed in a space you can't see anyway. But distribution system is your ductwork system. Now, if you have an older house where the ductwork's under the floor, can you view the underfloor ductwork system? You can't. So
There's a crawl space.
well, I should say something about it. And then the distribution system that's in the space. Now, it doesn't tell me here that I have to verify there's airflow coming out of any of them. Does it, Roger?
No, it doesn't say, you know, that there's a, to confirm airflow. No, it does not say that.
No.
It does say condition.
What does it say, though?
It says report on condition.
Yeah, it says heat source, presence in each room. That's what it says.
Oh, okay. I was on the wrong line.
No,
Sorry.
that's okay. But I'm telling you, everybody, you don't have to verify there's air coming out of it, but there better be heat. So what does that mean? You're verifying air. Okay? That's what it's telling me. So I don't know how many say, oh, yeah, it was fine. The weirdest one was there was air coming out of the cold air return and suction was in every supply register because they had put on a unit where everything was opposite. So heat source, observe and report heat source. If you're running heating, cooling. If the cooling and heating have shared components, they have the same things. You need to say that. Ductwork is shared, and if it has evaporative cooling, it's shared. Okay. How are we doing for time? We got about 6 minutes here, so I'm going to have to cruise through the rest here. Cooling, source, operating controls, distribution, air filters. Okay, this is one that always seems to bother me a lot. You have to report on whether the filter's clean or dirty. I thought it was weird. But just saying you need to replace it every month isn't good enough. You need to say, this filter's dirty and needs to be cleaned. Well, okay, whatever. You're not moving in for 30 days. Cooling source. You're required to verify there's a cooling source in every living space. It says it right there. Does everybody see it? So If it shares the same ductwork, I didn't verify if there's heating because I didn't run the heating system at this time. It was too hot. We didn't run cooling because at this time, the main area was too cold to run the air conditioner. Now, if it's a heat pump, you're going to be running at one source, not the other anyway. Interior, wall
Why are
ceilings.
you required to report on that when it's not required?
Where?
Only a heating source is required.
It says right here, number 69. Observe and report.
I get that for this, but for like FHA, you only have to have a heating source. There's a few homes here in Yuma that don't have a cooling source.
Well, then you just
You're
say
not
that.
required, which is ridiculous, but
I know, but this is the state rules. So you can say there is no cooling source. That's okay.
okay.
Yeah. Again, this had to be fairly generic, and people thought about this writing for years. It's been this way since 2002. But yeah, if it doesn't, you don't have to say this house should have cooling. You can just say, I mean, I was just in a place called Bisbee, and it had no cooling source, but it had heating. So I just said, in this area, there are no cooling sources, and evaporative cooling is typical. So that was the kind of cooling they had. So wall ceilings and floors, steps and stairways, balconies and railings, on interiors. So you can decide, do you want to have it for both interior and exterior or have it in both? It's up to you. Asterisk means I don't have to report on it. Counters and cabinetry, observe and report a condition. I didn't realize we had to report on the condition of that, but it says it right there. So I just say the counters and the cabinets. So in cabinetry, the main thing there is on the flippers, I open up the cabinets, I look and there's drywall screws holding the cabinet to the wall. And I write those up every day now because I'm tired of the cabinets falling off the wall after the buyer moves in. Doors, observe and report a condition of
There it is.
representative number. I feel better. Thank you, everyone. Maybe report an interior section. I really thought on exterior doors it was just representative, but it's all. Okay. Windows, report on operation condition of a representative. I can do that. A primary window. Whoa, wait a minute. So if I have one window in a bedroom, I have to check it. That's what it's telling me. See? So some of you may say, well, I'm doing a representative amount. I'm going to skip 3 bedrooms and just move on. Fire
One
separation.
in each room.
Say what, Roger?
At least one in each room.
Yes. Fire separation walls and ceilings. Okay, everybody, it's not a firewall. It's not a firewall. In residential, it's called a fire separation wall. Fire separation wall. This is what the code says. Okay, it's in the code. This is observe the walls and ceilings between the dwelling unit and the attached garage or other dwelling unit and report a condition. Okay, fire separation door. It's not a fire door. It doesn't have to meet those requirements. It's not a $400 door. It has to meet the rule for whatever the rule is for a fire separation door. Solid, 1 3/4 or 1 3/8, whatever the rule is today. Self-closing, whatever the rule is today. They've been going back and forth changing. It used to be 1 3/4, self-closing, self-latching, and that's what it was. Observe and report on the condition of attached garages. Okay, insulation and ventilation. Okay, vapor retarder. Wow. In southern Arizona, we can just say that this is not installed in our area and I move on. But if I'm in another area, I have to report on the vapor retarder. Oh, sorry, I missed insulation right here. Insulation, report on the type, fiberglass, cellulose, condition, depth, thickness. What? Are we required to report on the depth and thickness?
That's what it says.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to look that up. I don't believe we are. Otherwise, we'd be measuring it all the time.
Yeah, we are.
We are? Well, thank you. I learned something tonight. Thank you for teaching me. You're like builders. I love you. Okay. I always write down if it's displaced, and I say it looks like a human was swimming through the insulation and displaced the area. Usually you can tell because there's a big hole in the ceiling below where they've stepped through the ceiling. So vapor retarder, building, paper, condition, displaced, missing. So a lot of the areas where you're in an area where there's not high moisture or temperature differentials, there's no vapor retarder at all. The insulation is free flowing. Attic ventilation, observe and report on the presence and condition or lack of. Some of you are writing down the attic insulation doesn't meet the doesn't meet the 100 square inches of free air for this much, whatever. You're doing engineering. Stop that. Just state that it doesn't exist properly and should be corrected. Underfloor crawl space. Some of you are great at writing this up. I love it. Should there be ventilation? Yes or no?
Depends.
That's right. It depends. So 81, it depends on whatever the rule is in your area. Kitchen ventilation. This is a weird one, everybody. Am I required to have ventilation in a kitchen by the code?
No.
The answer is no. Now, depending on the kitchen doesn't require ventilation unless I have a gas stove and requires ventilation, then I have to have ventilation there. Okay, so stove vent condition. There you go. Bathroom ventilation. That's weird, but that's always been a rule. I have to have bathroom ventilation. Observe fan or window. So that has to be on your report. Fan or window. So we put now that there's a fan or window. We used to say there's a fan or there's a window. Now we just say there's a fan or window is required. We move on. And then we say the window does open if needed. Okay, laundry ventilation. This thing here, we're going to finish on time. Cool. Observe and report on the present condition of dryer venting to the extent it's visible. Huh? Okay, most dryer venting is hidden in the wall. A lot of you are reporting on the flex line, the connector between the dryer and the wall. I report on that because we don't know when the dryer is moving or if it's leaving or staying. Dryer venting evaluation should include visible sections from the closed dryer, says it right here, to the exterior of the building, which I can't see anyway. Observe and report on the condition of room ventilation if present. Okay, so if it's a gas dryer and it has a plastic, what are they calling it here? Dryer vent? Dryer vent. Is it required to be metal or can I have plastic?
Plastic's bad.
Plastic is bad. The manufacturers have said that. So you got to be careful with this one. So we always make a statement that we don't inspect appliances. Well, the new variation of this is we're going to be inspecting appliances unless they're built in the kitchen. So that's a possibility. You'll have to say you turn these items on and check them. Any questions about what the requirements are, everybody? If I scared anybody, let me know. But these have been the rules since 2002. Okay. Report checklist supplement. A lot of people say we shouldn't even have a supplement. Well, if you didn't, you wouldn't know what needs to be on there. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So the EACs are the people that look at reports and determine what needs to be done. If you take a picture and you say something, the picture has to tell me what I'm seeing, everybody. If there's a defect and the picture doesn't tell me what you just said that's a defect, don't use the picture. Does everybody understand? If the picture's so poor, it doesn't protect you for what you've said, then take it out. It's better not to have it. So when there's a complaint, a lot of guys are taking 400 pictures or 500 pictures. Doesn't do you any good if it's not in the report. You say, oh, I need to defend myself later. Well, okay, maybe you do. But if you take a good quality picture and state what you see, you're going to be okay. Any questions about report writing? This is not a report writing. This is filling in your report to meet the state guidelines. Okay.
Thanks, Brett.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening. We'll have some classes later. And again, this is following the rules that are written for the state of Arizona. Okay, everybody? Have a great evening.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brett.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brett.
Good night.